Welcome to our deep dive into Deuteronomy. It's the fifth and final book of the Torah, and it's kind of like the grand finale of a symphony,
Hmm.
echoing those themes from the previous books, but with a unique twist.
Absolutely.
We've got Moses giving these really powerful speeches
Yes.
to the Israelites on the plains of Moab,
Yeah.
right before they enter the Promised Land.
Yeah, what's fascinating here is the perspective Deuteronomy offers. It's both looking back over those 40 years of wilderness wanderings
Right.
and then looking forward to the challenges
Yeah.
and responsibilities of a settled life.
Okay, so picture this. The Israelites are finally at the doorstep of their long-awaited home. But Moses, their leader, he knows he won't be crossing the Jordan with them.
Yeah,
Deuteronomy becomes his last chance to prepare them,
it
to
is.
pass on wisdom, gleaned from their incredible, sometimes tumultuous journey.
Right, it's like a spiritual inheritance he's passing down. This blend of history, law, exhortation, all aimed at equipping them for this monumental transition.
And Deuteronomy is full of these vivid historical flashbacks.
Yeah.
Let's jump into one from Deuteronomy 1, where Moses recounts sending spies into Canaan.
Okay.
What stands out to you in this story?
I think it's the reaction of the Israelites to the spies' report, especially their description of the land's abundance. Remember those grapes of Eshcol?
Oh, yeah.
These massive clusters of grapes, so heavy they had to be carried on a pole between two men, and they became the symbol of the land's incredible fertility.
Right. But instead of being inspired by this abundance, they're overwhelmed by fear. They focus on the giants in the land rather than the God who just delivered them from Egypt.
Yeah, this reveals this human tendency to focus on the obstacles rather than the possibilities, even
Yeah.
when God is clearly providing.
Yes.
It sets the stage for one of Deuteronomy's major themes, the importance of remembering God's faithfulness.
Remembering becomes key to their identity and survival. Why is remembering so crucial for them? And how does that apply to us today?
For the Israelites, remembering wasn't just about nostalgia. Right. It was about anchoring their faith in God's proven track record. It was about reminding themselves that the God who parted the Red Sea was the same God who would lead them into the Promised Land.
Right.
For us today, it's about recognizing God's hand in our own lives, remembering his faithfulness in the past to fuel our trust in the present.
Yeah, Deuteronomy doesn't shy away from the not-so-great memories either. It confronts the Israelites' failures, their rebellions, their disobedience, like the incident with the golden calf in Deuteronomy 9.
Oh, yeah.
They traded the invisible God for a tangible idol. It's a classic human move, right?
It is.
What lessons can we draw from this for ourselves today?
Well, the golden calf story is a stark warning about idolatry, about replacing God with anything, even good things that distract us from our dependence on him. What are some golden calves that we might be tempted to worship today?
Ooh, that's a good question for you to ponder. Career success, material possessions, the approval of others.
Yeah,
It's a reminder that anything we prioritize above God becomes an idol.
right. Speaking of transitioning to a new life, Deuteronomy 12 marks a crucial shift. We see these detailed instructions for worship and sacrifice in the Promised Land, centered on a single chosen sanctuary.
Yeah, they had the portable tabernacle in the wilderness. So what's the deeper meaning behind centralizing worship? What changes when you go from like a mobile home to a permanent dwelling?
I think it signifies unity, gathering around this common focal point for their faith and their communal identity. It's a visible symbol of their transition from wanderers to settlers, a people rooted in a specific place and united in their worship of God.
So this centralization helps solidify their sense of being one people under one God.
Right.
It's fascinating how physical spaces can embody spiritual truths.
Absolutely. And this leads us into a core aspect of Deuteronomy, the law. While it echoes many laws from earlier books, Deuteronomy presents them with this fresh emphasis, tailored for the challenges and opportunities of their new life.
Let's dig into some of those laws that stand out. For instance, there are numerous laws regarding the treatment of the poor and vulnerable. Deuteronomy 15 talks about releasing debts and providing for the needy. How do these laws reflect God's character and his heart for those on the margins of society?
These laws are a powerful expression of God's compassion and justice. They reveal a God who cares deeply about the welfare of all people, especially the most vulnerable among them. It challenges us to consider, how are we reflecting God's heart for the vulnerable in our own actions and attitudes?
It's striking that these laws aren't just about charity. They're about systemic justice. They're about creating a society where everyone has access to the basic necessities of life.
Yeah, it's about building a community where no one is left behind. Another set of laws that often raises eyebrows concerns warfare. For example, Deuteronomy 20 talks about offering peace to enemy cities and sparing non-combatants.
These laws seem remarkably progressive for their time. It seems like they're trying to limit the brutality of war, emphasizing justice and mercy, even in the midst of conflict. What principles are they grounded in?
Exactly. They point to a God who desires peace and who calls his people to act justly even in the midst of war. They stand as a stark contrast to the take no prisoners approach that characterized so much of ancient warfare.
Deuteronomy also throws in some curveballs. You know, these intriguing, sometimes perplexing laws sprinkled throughout the text, like the one about a bird's nest in Deuteronomy 22.67, where you're allowed to take the eggs or young birds, but are commanded to let the mother bird go free, or the prohibition against wearing clothing made from mixed fabrics like wool and linen together in Deuteronomy 22.11. What do you make of these? Do they hold any deeper meaning for us today?
Those are great examples. What's fascinating here is that even seemingly obscure laws often point to deeper principles. The bird's nest law, for instance, could be seen as a call to act with compassion, recognizing the bond between a mother and her young. Even in seemingly mundane matters, there's an invitation to reflect on God's character and how that should shape our actions.
What about the law about mixed fabrics? That one's always intrigued me.
Well, that one's open to a lot of interpretation. Some see it as emphasizing purity and separation, while others view it as a reminder that God cares about even the smallest details of our lives. It's almost like these seemingly odd laws are little puzzles meant to spark deeper thought and conversation about what it means to live a God-honoring life.
Now let's shift gears and move toward the final chapters of Deuteronomy, where the tone becomes especially powerful. In Deuteronomy 28, Moses lays out a stark choice: blessings for obedience, curses for disobedience. It's a pretty intense read, right?
Definitely. This isn't just a dry list of rewards and punishments. There's a powerful emotional appeal here. Moses uses striking imagery to convey the weight of choosing one path or the other.
What are some of those images that stand out to you?
One of the most vivid images is the contrast between abundance and scarcity for those who obey. Deuteronomy 28.12 paints this picture of overflowing storehouses, plentiful crops, and financial prosperity. It's like this vision of a society where everyone has enough. A picture of blessing that extends beyond material wealth to include peace and security as well.
So we were talking about the vivid imagery in Deuteronomy,
Yeah.
especially when it comes to the blessings and curses.
Yeah.
It's not sugar-coated, is it?
It's not.
Deuteronomy 28.26 paints a stark picture. And thy carcass shall be meat unto all fowls of the air, and unto the beasts of the earth, and no man shall fray them away. That's an image of utter desolation and abandonment. What kind of impact do you think those words had on the Israelites hearing them for the first time?
Oh, I think it would have been chilling. A stark reminder of the potential consequences of their choices. And those curses extended, beyond physical suffering to include social and economic upheaval,
Right.
even the scattering of the Israelites among the nations. Deuteronomy 28.64 states, "And the Lord shall scatter thee among all people, from one end of the earth even unto the other. And there thou shalt serve other gods, which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone."
It's a warning against losing their identity, against being assimilated into cultures that don't honor God. But even amidst these warnings, there are glimpses of hope. These remarkable promises of restoration and renewal.
Right. Deuteronomy is this tapestry of both warning and promise woven together.
Yeah.
Even as Moses outlines those curses, he also lays out those incredible blessings that await those who choose to follow God. Abundance in the city and the field, blessings on their children and livestock, victory over their enemies, and a reputation for wisdom and understanding among the nations.
It's like he's saying, look, here are the two paths before you. One leads to life and blessing, the other to destruction and despair. The choice is yours.
And that choice is emphasized in Deuteronomy 30, which offers this powerful message of hope, even if the Israelites find themselves in exile, even if they've experienced the full weight of the curses. God promises to restore them if they return to him with all their heart and soul.
There's an incredible tenderness in that promise. It speaks to God's unrelenting love and faithfulness. Deuteronomy 30.3-5 puts it beautifully, that then the Lord thy God will turn thy captivity and have compassion upon thee, and will return and gather thee from all the nations whither the Lord thy God hath scattered thee. If any of thine be driven out unto the outmost parts of heaven, from thence will the Lord thy God gather thee, and from thence will he fetch thee. And the Lord thy God will bring thee into the land which thy fathers possessed, and thou shalt possess it, and he will do thee good, and multiply thee above thy fathers.
Yeah. It's this reminder that even when we stray, even when we face those consequences of our choices, God is always ready to welcome us back, to heal, to restore. It all comes back to that powerful call to choose life in Deuteronomy 30:19.
This isn't about passively accepting whatever comes our way. It's a deliberate, active choice to align ourselves with God's ways to live in obedience to his commands, and to trust in his promises even when the path ahead is uncertain.
And that choice has this ripple effect. It's not just about our individual well-being, it has implications for our communities, for future generations, even for the world around us.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into Deuteronomy, what are some key takeaways we can carry with us? What can we learn from Moses' final words to the Israelites?
Deuteronomy challenges us to remember God's faithfulness, to choose wisely, and to live in a way that reflects God's character. It's this timeless reminder that our choices matter, that obedience to God leads to blessing, and that even when we falter, God's love and faithfulness remain constant.
The book ends not with a period, but with an exclamation point. It's a call to action that echoes through the ages, inviting us to participate in God's ongoing story of redemption and renewal.
And that story continues to unfold today. As you continue to explore Deuteronomy on your own, consider this. How can you cultivate a Deuteronomic mindset in your daily life? How can you make the choice to choose life in a way that shapes your actions, your relationships, and your impact on the world around you?
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep choosing life.